So I'm driving into work this morning and look, it's actually bright enough for me to record a video, which can only mean one thing. Spring is coming! It's hard to tell with all the rain and the gray, but spring is indeed on its way. Or, I guess technically, based on our calendar and the way that we've organized things in this world, spring is already here. Because it's spring break right now. Which is why I haven't been making a whole lot of videos. I'm still putting out a few things here and there, but my output is greatly reduced. And that's because I've found so far in my short time making videos that I need to take these periodic breaks to recharge the batteries and refill my inspiration tank, if you will. So that's what I've been doing the last couple weeks. But fear not. I've also been stockpiling videos. I've been plotting. I've also been working on my 4th public talk, which I will be delivering at my church in 2 weeks' time. So what I'm trying to say is I have lots of material waiting in the wings. I haven't just been sitting on my ass and doing nothing. But I still felt the need to withdraw a little bit from YouTube and to focus on some other stuff. So I just wanted to give you an update, and I also wanted to say Happy Good Friday, Happy Easter, Happy whatever it is that you celebrate around this time of year, where we start to lift the oppressive veil of winter's night and experience the dawn of day once again. And as you know, I believe that the individual human is a micro representation of the greater world, the planet, solar system, galaxy, or even the universe. So when these types of things happen in the external world, I believe that they have an internal counterpart, that there is something happening within us as well that reflects what is happening out there. So you may notice in the springtime that you start to feel better. Your mood improves, even though nothing else has really changed in your life. You may also notice that you are seeing and smelling and hearing things as if for the first time. At least that's how I feel every spring. I've been on this earth for 35 years now, which means that I've gone through and experienced 35 springs, yet every single time I feel like I'm experiencing it for the first time. It's kind of a strange phenomenon. It's almost like winter forces some kind of amnesia onto me, and I forget the fragrance of flowers and the sight of trees in full bloom and the chirping of birds. And so when this starts up again in the springtime, I'm always taken aback by it, and I'm always floored, and I always feel awe and wonder and reverence for this beautiful world that we are blessed to live in. These are all things that happen to me in springtime, things that happen to me internally. And so I can see why our ancestors imbued this time of year with great significance. And I can see why we would hang up stories of dying and reborn heroes and demigods around this time of year as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if our ancestors felt the same kind of awe and reverence I feel during springtime. And I wouldn't be surprised if those emotions were the source or inspiration for many of these stories of death and rebirth. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about death and rebirth. There's a line somewhere, and I can't remember where I read it, but it basically goes something like, die before you die and live forever. Die before you die and live forever. And the idea is that you're not dying a physical death, but a spiritual or psychological death. What this line refers to is ego death, death of the superficial and artificial personality that we have come to believe is our authentic self. What we're talking about is the death of a perspective or a point of view or a narrative, a story. The story being, my name is Oliver, and that's who I am. I am a father. I am an educator. I am a whatever. When that story dies, or at least that story is put in its proper place as merely a story and not a reality, then a part of you dies and another part of you begins to live at long last. And that part that begins to live has always been alive and will always live. And when you experience yourself as that, and truly know yourself to be that, well, then you can say that you'll live forever, because the self never dies. So that's how I read that line. That's how I interpret it. But ultimately, it doesn't even have to be that mystical. We don't even have to get into death and what comes after and the eternal quality of the Supreme Self. We don't even have to go into that. We don't even have to talk about it. We can just stick to the very practical, superficial level, which is simply this. You have to reinvent yourself in life. As new information comes in, as new experiences occur, you have to reevaluate and reinvent yourself. If you have the same beliefs and same attitudes today that you had 10 years ago, then you, my friend, are in dire need of this death before death. You're in dire need of a termination and a resurrection, because your perspective, your outlook, your ideas, your beliefs, your opinions, your evaluations, and your values are 10-year-old values. They're 10 years behind, and I can't imagine that they're serving you well. So if you find yourself in a rut, or if you are experiencing the same patterns over and over again, and you find yourself asking, why does this keep happening to me? Or why do I have such bad luck? Well, it may be partially a result of bad luck, but I would encourage you to look within and look at yourself as, if not the sole cause, then at least a contributing factor to your rut. And I would suggest that maybe it's time for you to sacrifice some of your most cherished and tightly held beliefs. Time to sacrifice them upon the altar of self-knowledge. Stop telling yourself these stories, or at the very least, stop believing them and see them for what they really are, which is, again, just merely narratives that we use to make sense of the world. Let the character of that story die today. And in 3 days' time, let yourself be reborn as something new and something old, something timeless, something that transcends aversions and preferences, something that transcends superficial ideas of right and wrong, good and bad, left and right. Something that rises above the petty concerns of this materialistic society and achieves or touches something more substantial, something more real, and something long-lasting. So if you're struggling, you're having a hard time, you think you're in a rut, or you're trapped in some kind of situation or pattern, and you can't break free, it's not your fault. It's because you're acting like something you're not. You can't break free because who you think you are is trapped in the story, in the pattern, in the rut. They're one and the same, one fabric, one web. And in order to break free, you have to destroy the entire story and the character you believe you are to be. Without this, you're going to stay stuck in the same web. You might move to a different spot. You might gain a better vantage point, but you will still be trapped in that web. All of this to say, Happy Good Friday, Happy Easter, Happy Spring, and I will see you next week with more Daily Bread videos, more vlogs, more episodes of The Big Questions. So I'll see you next week. Hopefully you're hungry, because I got lots of bread cooking in the oven right now, and I'm just dying to share it with you. Until that time, live well, my friends.